Hello and welcome to the Radical Podcast, inspired by the essence of the word radical, proceeding from the root. We explore the roots of metaphysical wisdom.
This season is all about divination, tarot, and the power held within our intuition. This is The Radical with Nicole and Christina, the two metaphysical girls in the material world.
Hello, welcome to the Radical Podcast. This is Christina.
And I'm Nicole.
In this episode, we are covering the 2, 3, and 4 of Swords tarot cards. I'm going to start right away about the qualities, properties, and attributes of these 3 cards. The card name is 2 of Swords, 3 of Swords, and 4 of Swords. Swords are in dealing with the concepts of intellect, decision, logic. The mantra is I think. The area or the realm is the mind. This is also, the Swords cards also have a lot to do with change, conflict, power, and action. Very quickly, just touching on a tiny bit of numerology. 2s in tarot generally deal with partnerships, balance, decisions, and duality. 3s, acknowledgement and community. And 4, stability and boundaries. The quality and element associated with these 3 cards, this is a cardinal air tied to Libra. Libra is the fall initiator. It is Libra connects cardinal energy of air, emphasizing balanced ideas and relationships. I'm going to just go over very quickly the planet and, well, we already talked about the zodiac sign, but the planet and sign for each of these. 2 of Swords is Moon in Libra. 3 of Swords is Saturn in Libra. 4 of Swords is Jupiter in Libra. The house for these 3 cards is Libra's house, the 7th house, the house of balance. And also a cardinal, like I said, a cardinal house that leads us into the upper half of the zodiac wheel. We start moving our attention to the outer world in the upper half of the wheel. And the Libra 7th house is the first house. For correspondences, I'm just going to touch lightly on the Tree of Life correspondences. The 2 of Swords is associated with Shakma, the sphere of wisdom, as in meditation, not action. The 3 of Swords is associated with the sphere of Binah, understanding and compassion. The 4 of Swords, Chesed, the sphere of love, and a broad sense of love as in gentleness, peace, and harmony. For the chakras, for these 3, I'm definitely getting an upper triangle vibe for these 3 cards. Listeners, there are 7 chakras, 7 main chakras. There's the root, the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown. The heart is considered the center, and the chakras below the heart are considered the lower triangle, and the chakras above the heart are considered the upper triangle. And in my perception and understanding, I feel like the 2 of Swords has a lot of third eye because the eyes are literally blindfolded in a lot of these cards, and you're using your internal vision to make your decision. The 3 of Swords, okay, heart chakra for the 3 of Swords. And as we get into card comparison, and Nicole's going to talk about meanings and get deep into that, it'll make sense because as we know, the heart chakra being there in the center, the heart, but also because the heart is connected to the lungs, and in grief lives in the lungs. The 4 of Swords, I went back and forth, and I'm really feeling like this is the crown chakra because you're stepping away and you're taking time to put it all together, to rest, to rehabilitate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with all of those.
But definitely upper triangle is what I would say.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's very air element.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to talk a little bit more about the throat chakra later when we get towards the end and we start getting into some personal experiences with these, but that is where I feel the energy of these cards are. For symbols, I see a lot of blue, and that is the color generally associated with air, but also with like the throat chakra. And I'm going to talk more, like I said, I'm going to talk more about the throat chakra later. Blue is for the air element and also mental. Swords, we have swords pointing up. We have swords pointing down. We have swords sideways. We have swords piercing things. We have swords stuck into the ground. Some of them are hovering in air. We talked a little bit about our energetic impressions of swords pointing up versus pointing down. We have to take each card one by one. You can look up on your computer, open source search, spiritual meaning of a raised sword, spiritual meaning of a pointing down sword. You could use that to look that up and use that as like your guide, but essentially it has more to do with how they make you feel in the picture on the card, but just noticing the direction of the swords and hearts in these cards. The heart as a complex organ, not just as the ruler of, romantic love. Nicole and I have talked a few times about the power of the heart and the Heart Math Institute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Heart coherence.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember what podcast that was in. We'll remember, and then we'll put a link to it, or we'll have it connected to this one. But the heart as an intelligent, as a multifaceted, and as a much more complex organ, and red hearts specifically. And then we're talking about red hearts as being matters related to the heart. And you would wonder, we have swords, intellect and mind, and then we have hearts, emotion, and, human emotions. And that's why these cards can be very complex. And more on that in just a few moments. And that is leading into one of the main themes, is that our thoughts can cut like a knife. Our thoughts can hurt us more than physical wounds. Thoughts are like knives. They can pierce, they can slice, they can cut, they can wound, but also in the way that they can free us. Our thoughts can slice through lies, can slice through illusion. So these three cards, the themes here is that we can be set free, but we can also be held in place by the power of our thoughts. We can hold ourselves prisoner with our own thoughts.
I have some notes on the decans.
Mm.
And just a little refresher that the decans are 10-degree segments each on the zodiac wheel. There are 3 decans per zodiac sign because the sun spends 30 degrees in each of the 12 zodiac signs, and 12 signs, 30 degrees each, equals the entire 360-degree wheel. And what we are looking at in Libra season is when the sun is at 0 degrees, 10 degrees, and 20 degrees of Libra. And I made a little note that in my decan chart that goes on Substack, I have the approximate start date, but it's always good to look at an ephemeris to see exactly when the sun moves into those positions. So, like Christina mentioned, the Two of Swords is the moon in Libra. And Aleister Crowley's hermetic title for this card is the Lord of Peace. And the corresponding Major Arcana card tied to the moon is the High Priestess. So we have her connected to this card. For all 3 Libra decans, the corresponding zodiac major arcana card is going to be the Justice card, which we talked about last week. The 3 of Swords for Libra 2 is Saturn in Libra. This card, according to Aleister Crowley, is the Lord of Sorrow. And because Saturn is ruling this decan, the World card from the Major Arcana is the corresponding planetary major card. And what's interesting to note here is Saturn is exalted in Libra, and this is a very sorrowful card. So more on that.
Yeah.
4 of Swords, Jupiter in Libra, the 3rd decan of Libra, the Lord of Truce. And with Jupiter being the planetary ruler, we get the Wheel of Fortune as the corresponding planetary major arcana card. So with the minors, in these groups of 3, I think I said this in our last episode, with a group of 3 minor arcana cards, I'm looking for the story that's helping me understand better what's going on and what the cards are trying to convey. So one of the themes is what is seen, what is unseen, what is known, what is unknown. There's kind of this play on what we know and what we don't know. With the 2 of Swords, there's this sort of sense of we don't know something and we don't see it yet, or we cannot see it yet. And that is kind of indicative of the blindfold. Another interpretation might be all my choices seem equal, playing into that indecision that this card can convey. And because these cards are tied to Libra, I need to remember that Libra is the zodiac sign that really deals with relationships. Mm-hmm. So my example in my mind that best conveys the energy of this card is when you're in a relationship with somebody, like a romantic relationship, and you know the relationship is over, but it feels impossible to leave. It reminds me of a quote from the movie Eat, Pray, Love. It could be in the book too, but I know it's in the movie. She says, "The only thing more unthinkable than leaving was staying. The only thing more impossible than staying was leaving." And that to me feels like a 2 of Swords moment. In the 3 of Swords, it's like there's something we now see and know, and we cannot unsee it or unknow it. Mm-hmm. And because of the imagery on the Rider-Waite-Smith card, it's probably something piercing. And in the 4 of Swords, the idea here is that rest is critical to our brain's functioning and therefore our ability to know things, to process things. When we sleep and rest, our brain can detox, archive, and process. Sometimes the best ideas and decisions come after a period of resting or doing nothing, when we take a pause. And all of this helps our inner knowing become clear. And I wrote down also, as do our unseen and inner worlds of meditation, shamanic journeys, astral projection, divination practices, and introspection. So sort of tapping into the unknown and the unseen through restorative type practices that let our brains rest. Some decanical interpretations. 2 of Swords, we have the equanimity of Libra and the obscurity of the moon. In equanimity, mental calmness, composure, evenness of temper, especially in a difficult situation. And equanimity brings to mind reconciling contradictory or conflicting information. What is known? What is unknown? Head versus heart, right versus wrong. Three of Swords, we could pair the relational focus of Libra with the solid reality of Saturn. With Saturn, we have tasks, boundaries, limits, and responsibilities. And this sort of boils down to the realities of relationships. When we are young, we might have this idea that marriage is like the Disney prince and princess and we live happily ever after. But Saturn and Libra reminds us that reality is not the Disney prince and princess. Another way we could look at it, the attachments of Libra and the melancholy of Saturn. If we remember or consider that relationships are mirrors, it could be that in relationship with others, we become aware of, we see things, we know things about someone else, or that mirror reveals something about ourselves. Or it could be a truth about the relationship itself, as represented by the sword number 3 in the card. And I think this Saturn and Libra is like that cliche saying, it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. It's kind of like, if you're going to be in relationship with others, you have to accept the full spectrum of human emotions, which is love and loss and everything in between.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this speaks to Saturn's exaltation in Libra. That's kind of maybe that energy coming into play. Saturn's bringing that reality check into our relationships. And Saturn loves to do that. So in Libra, it gets that opportunity, perhaps. 4 of Swords, we have the equilibrium of Libra and the opportunity of Jupiter, taking the opportunity to rest and restore our balance. The realignment of Libra and the spirituality of Jupiter. So recalibrating ourselves with the help of spiritual practice. Or just sleeping. that could be a spiritual practice if that's what we need.
It's interesting with these 3 cards. We have the 4 of Swords, and you know what cards come next. The 5 of Swords, 6 of Swords, and 7 of Swords. This 4 of Swords is like a timeout in that, like I said, in that journey through the Minor Arcana of the Swords cards. Reminding us and giving us an opportunity for self-care.
Definitely. Card comparisons.
Yeah.
So in my Zodiac Tarot deck, the figure is not actually physically holding the swords. Her arms and hands are sort of, to me, it looks like she's energetically holding the swords in place. The swords are crossed in front of her. And it's almost like there's this invisible force emanating from her hands and arms rather than physically holding them. And the figure's wearing white. There's a crescent moon bracelet on her wrist, evoking to me a sense of surrender and using our own intuition and inner knowing to make a choice. In the Medicine Woman Tarot, we have the 2 of Arrows, so the suit's been renamed. We have a figure holding a bow and arrow, and she is focused on her target and is about to release the arrow. And when we focus our eyesight like that, our periphery narrows and we create single-pointed concentration. This reminds us of the concept of samadhi, a Sanskrit term referring to a deep meditative, absorbed state of mind, deep concentration, which sounds a lot like equanimity, that Libra characteristic. In my book, 36 Secrets, the author T. Susan Chang reminds us that when Luke was training with Obi-Wan Kenobi in the very beginning, he blindfolds him. And that's echoed in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck with the blindfold. In my Antique Anatomy Tarot, I did have to consult the internet to ask what type of blades and flowers the artist depicted. And in the Two of Blades, the internet suggested that this is a butterfly style knife, one that you can fold or unfold to use, like a pocket knife style. So you have the choice of using it to cut or slice, or you can fold it up and put it away to kind of disengage the blade. And this card has white and black flowers, giving us a sense of dichotomy. And in Mystic Mondays, we see two swords, two curved blades. And at first glance, to me anyway, it looks like they are possibly interlocked, so you cannot pull them apart, giving us that sense of impossibility that could come with the energy of this card. But if you look closer, the swords are actually overlaid and you can very easily pull them apart. So it made me think of how our minds, right? We're in the element of air, the realm of the mind. We can make mountains out of molehills. We can overthink something. And I think that could also be something that this card is trying to convey. Maybe our mental faculties are working too hard, and the solution is simpler than we may have first thought. For the Three of Swords in the Zodiac Tarot, we have a woman seated with tears streaming down her face. One sword is piercing the center of her chest, and in her left hand, she's holding her heart, and the other two swords are piercing the heart she's holding in her hand. And one of the swords, if you look closely, it's actually piercing the hand holding her heart as well. So a lot of ouch, a lot of pain in this card. In the Medicine Woman Tarot, the Three of Arrows, we see our figure has released her arrow, and there's a blue buffalo with the arrow she has released piercing its heart. Her face to me looks completely expressionless, maybe even a touch solemn or melancholy, which brings in Saturn. However, in the background, there's this kind of ethereal ancestor figure smiling and celebrating. So my take is maybe this card is representing a necessary task, which is Saturn, for the good of her community, which brings in Libra. But now she knows what it's like to kill, and she'll never not know that feeling. In the Antique Anatomy Tarot, we have karambit knives. Could be saying that totally wrong. But the internet taught me that these types of knives were designed to mimic the curve of a tiger's claw and be aggressive yet precise. Very Three of Swords. And the flowers, I believe, are black petunias, which symbolize deep emotions like grief. And in Mystic Mondays, it's pretty much an exact copy of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. The background, however, we don't have clouds or rain. It's just a deep, dark blue background that reminds us that no matter how difficult this moment is, we are living in truth. Four of Swords, Zodiac Tarot, there's a woman with green hair, green eyebrows, a green tattoo. Her clothing is green. Her eyes are closed. She's sort of like cuddling or embracing two swords, and the other two swords flank her body. All this green evokes a sense of healing. There's also this red cape enveloping her. Red gives us a sense of vitality. And the two swords flanking her can symbolize pillars, which indicate balance. In the Medicine Woman Tarot, the same figure that has been in the previous two cards is now seated with her eyes lowered so much they look closed. The way she's seated and with her eyes lowered like that kind of conveys a meditative state. She is sewing and crafting items from the buffalo's hide. We see kind of like a little leather purse at her feet, and she's now working on something else. She's wearing all yellow, the kind of ground, the earth beneath her, and her teepee in the background. All of that is yellow, which indicates optimism and expansion. Very Jupiter. Jupiter rules this decan, this card. And in the background, there's this ethereal yellow owl. And I took that as a reminder that there is wisdom in this little mini hero's journey. That is the 2, 3, and 4. And in the Antique Anatomy Tarot, there's 4 daggers. And daggers are easily tucked away until they're needed. They're easy to kind of hide away, which is kind of what we're doing in the Four of Swords. We're tucking ourselves away. And there are white mallow flowers, and mallow flowers have been used in protection rituals and can indicate renewal. And last but not least, Mystic Mondays, we have a figure holding a sword kind of down her body, and the other 3 blades rest above her, kind of in her hair or her crown chakra, her soul star chakra, and beyond. And the colors on this card, we have a lot of lavender and purple, which represent spirituality, divination, serenity, psychic abilities, and intuition.
For my card comparison, I'm starting with the Spirit Song for the 2 of Swords. The author here has renamed it the 2 of Feathers. They've chosen the gecko as a spirit animal with the 2 keywords of decisions and direction. The spiritual meaning of a gecko itself, through many cultures, is good luck, protection, but because it is a lizard or of that family, there's a lot of transformation that goes with lizards and snakes particularly. I can also get a sense of, specifically because of it's a gecko, it has that element of stealth, of camouflage, and being observant. And here with the 2 of Swords being in a place of, making a decision or contemplating, waiting and watching, I can see that. I kind of get that energy from the gecko. For the wild unknown, the 2 of Swords, and the keywords the author has there are blocked vision and stalemate. The author has chosen eclipse imagery at the top part of the card, and then 2 crossed swords. It's a solar eclipse. The moon is blocking the sun because there's a ring of fire visible behind the moon overlaid the sun. And I think that is a really good use of eclipse imagery and the ideas of the eclipse, because we're talking about looking within for answers and having the conscious and the unconscious mind, and being in that place where the truth, you're looking for the truth. Is the truth going to be revealed? Can you see everything you need to see? That I like the use of the eclipse in this card for that kind of sense. And the card is essentially black and white, except for the ring of fire coming out behind the moon blocking the sun.
It also is giving the yin and the yang duality, and like the yin covering the yang.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah. For the Secrets of the Witch's Garden, it's called the 2 of Swords, and the keyword is meditation. In this card, the The black-haired witch is in a walled garden, and the walled garden symbolizes safety and security. She has blindfolded herself. And the blindfold essentially telling us again, just like an echo of that Rider-Waite-Smith deck, of you must use your intuition. Her third eye, the spot on her forehead, is exposed, just like it is on the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. No, signifying that you're using your internally possessed knowledge, your internal wisdom. Blue dress for air. And the two swords, she's holding the swords with her own arms crossed in front of her heart. She is in full control of this situation. She is removing herself and protecting herself so that she can use her internal guidance to make this decision, or to ponder or to meditate on this decision, or this whatever whatever the situation is in the reading of the card when you get it. And finally, for the sacred she, this is card number 2, and it's called restraint. In this card, the image is of a woman, a female character. Their hands are bound with rope. The knot is on the top, and there's 2 gray rods. They don't look like swords to me. They're like gray rods, almost like bars of a prison, right? Like that gray steel. And that gray steel is going across her heart. It's across the heart. In the image, it only shows the bottom half of the face. There's a blue lace-ish collar that goes all the way up to the throat. I feel there's an element of historical clothing and historical hairstyle here, making me think of a very as a historical time in a patriarchal culture. The high collar, the overly braided hair. I mean, you could even see that there's some makeup on the face. It's making me feel like it's a throw. It's making me think of like a cultural repression or a cultural restraint on this character. And in this image, I don't feel that the character is in control of her restraint. Her hands are not visible. Her hands are not holding the bars, and her hands are completely covered in the rope. That's my impression of this card based on the imagery, but I guess she could reach down and untie the knot with her mouth if she wanted to. I'm not sure. Do you know what I'm saying? The knot is kind of exposed, so in a way, she could release herself, but that's the feeling I get from that card.
It's kind of like what you were saying at the beginning, like how our thoughts and our words can be a prison of our own making.
Yeah.
And we do have the power to free ourselves, kind of like one of my 2 of swords. It looks like the swords are interlocked, but they're actually not.
Yeah. Hey, I'm making an assumption that her hands are under that rope. I don't know. I actually don't know where her hands are. So it is a card to make you think. And I think it's great. But the blue imagery for the air element, for truth, and also for the throat chakra. I'm still coming back to that a few times. The 3 of Swords, starting with the spirit song called The 3 of Feathers. The author has chosen the moth as the spirit animal of that card, and the 2 keywords of release and recovery. The moth always, or the moving towards the light. That's the spiritual meaning of the moth, but also a transformative power. Moths and caterpillars and butterflies and that group of animals have that meaning tied to them. Transformation, turning sadness and heartbreak into courage. That's where courage comes from. I read that at least 2 times in my research on this card, that healing from heartbreak is where courage comes from. We have that power to transform. That information now we cannot unlearn. Like, you cannot unsee this now. You cannot put that heart back inside your body once it's been taken out. You can transform it and turn it into something else, and that's courage. For the wild unknown, the author calls this the Three of Swords. The keywords are betrayal, heartbreak, and turmoil. Three swords bound by red cording with red liquid dripping off the bottom of the swords. Could be blood. Some red being, vitality and life force. We could say that the swords are dripping life force and vitality. The three swords all have three different hilts. They're different swords. The three swords are different. The cording is a mess, right? It's not done in a very symmetrical way. One has it looped around it twice. It's just a thick binding of overlapping cords. You can see this card and you can feel that constriction. It has a powerful imagery. For the secrets of the witch's garden, the Three of Swords, it's called the Three of Swords. The keyword is heartbreak. It has a female witch lying on her back on the ground. Her spine is actually arcing towards the sky, hands covering her face. Her black hair is strewn about on the earth underneath her. She is wearing a bright red dress. There is a heart hovering above and outside of her body, and that heart is pierced with three swords. There are three crows flying overhead. We always talk about crows and omens and kind of like the imagery of the crows. The earth is gray. The leaves on the tree behind her have almost all fallen off, kind of getting a sensation of the season of this card. But growing on the ground in front of her and behind her are red rose hips. Rose hips represent love, healing, and psychic power. And the heart, again, outside of the body. Nicole, you said this. You cannot unsee what you see now. It's like this, it could be like a poison has to be removed from the body. And these cards, the heart is always separate from the body. Generally, in these cards. For the Sacred She, the 3 is called Heartbreak. The top half of the card is a pale, serene blue. There's a bright red heart in the center. The bright red heart is being cracked open by radiant white light, and then a band of clouds through the center of the card, moving through and in that red heart. The bottom half of the card, there's silver parallel lines moving downward. The bottom half of the card is very, very dark. There are some clouds visible, and then the very bottom half of the card is like black. So you could say this is kind of like the conscious into the subconscious. It can be like the two parts of the mind. The author, in her description of this card, mentions the wabi-sabi, the Japanese term, which expresses the acceptance of impermanence and imperfection. So in this heart cracking open by those clouds, there's an element of acceptance to it. But then the author also mentions another Japanese art of kintsugi, which is the mending with gold. The heart is breaking. The light is shining through. Opportunity to mend and to grow and to change from it.
Impermanence is another attribute of Saturn.
Very Saturn. These cards, the 3 of Swords, very Saturn. For the 4 of Swords, for Spirit Song, 4 of Feathers, the author has chosen the bear. I think I just said the word hibernation right at the beginning because I was thinking of the act of removing yourself from the world and going into a deep contemplative place. The bear, the keywords are a sanctuary and rest. And spiritually, the bear symbolizes strength, wisdom, healing, protection, and renewal, representing power found in quiet retro introspection, the importance of solitude, the ability to endure challenges and emerging renewed. And this is tied to the bear's hibernation cycle. For the Wild Unknown Tarot deck, the Four of Swords, keywords are stillness and mental power. Four swords are hovering, pointing down over a little lamb, that the lamb is not in harm. The lamb is perfectly content, staring at you with these big, beautiful, soft eyes, with a radiant sun shining from its forehead, from its third eye point. There are watery colors of pink and blue and yellow along the side of the card. The swords aren't threatening. If anything, they're directing the energy of the mind down into that calm, resting, happy lamb. For the Secrets of the Witch's Garden, Four of Swords, keyword rest. A red-haired witch in a white robe is fast asleep. A white cat is curled up right next to her. They're on cushions in the forest with flowers all around them. And they are also in a old, kind of crumbling courtyard. There's some stone archways and pillars behind her. So there's that element of the safety, the security of a somewhat walled garden space. There are two swords pointed down into the ground above her. And then there's two swords lying kind of, or leaning or lying next to her on the earth. Very much the imagery of this card is safety, rest, recuperation, and just almost like a fairy tale rest, like magical rest almost. And in the Sacred She, the four, the author has called it rest. It shows 2 feet crossed up on a railing. There's an ocean view. The ocean meets the sky. The ocean is blue. The sky is pale blue. It looks a little beachy there. You can see a little bit of the surf, the waves. And the feet are so still. This person is so at ease that a butterfly has landed on their toe. And that butterfly rests upon the toe, safe and secure, because that person is perfectly at ease. You have the imagery of almost like vacation, and then the imagery of the butterfly, which is transformation or transforming. And it's essentially just putting your feet up. That classic phrase that we have, put your feet up, try to relax, but also putting your feet up to alleviate pressure.
Putting it all together for the Two of Swords, to sum it up, we're at an impasse, a standstill, or at a point of indecision. My book, Tarot Fundamentals, says that this card conveys meditation upon opposing forces and choices. And another take from Tarot Fundamentals was surrendering your senses. And we get that with the blindfold, surrendering our external sight in favor of our internal sight. With the Three of Swords, an emotional blow, anguish, a difficult truth to accept, a deep wounding, and even primal pain. The Four of Swords, this was my first word association with this card, but Shavasana. In my Mystic Mondays guidebook, she also calls this a conscious surrender. This is a required rest, a recuperation, or convalescence. I've really been loving that word lately, convalescence. A period of introspection, integration, a truce. This is that it's the Lord of Truce, or a rest from the strife in the Three of Swords. It's a rebalancing of our emotions, which is very Libra. Some reversals, the Two of Swords could be conveying information overload, that we're relying too much on external influences, perhaps even deception. Three of Swords, if you literally get the card in reverse, it's like the swords can slide out of your broken heart. That came from my Mystic Mondays guidebook. And to me, that's just such a powerful image. And what that's saying is we're releasing the pain, we're letting it go, we're healing. Or the reversal could be saying that's what is needed right now. If you're feeling stuck in that pain, if you're stuck in the gloom, what's being asked for is healing. Four of Swords, burnout or headed to burnout, exhaustion, or overthinking, overusing our mind, our mental realm, too much of the air element at the expense of body and spirit. So remembering that we can get information from our body, from our heart, from our intuition, and not overly relying on our mind. And another take on Four of Swords in reverse would be the long-term effects of stress.
In my Secrets of the Witch's Garden, she poses a question to write the reversal of these cards, if you get them. For the Two of Swords, the question is, how can I stop caring about what others think of me? For the Three of Swords, how can I stay present in the face of discomfort? And for the Four of Swords, how can I remove mental distraction? Which is just what you said.
Yeah, those are good.
I need to ask those questions of myself all the time. How can I stop caring about what other people think of me? Think about how many times we hold ourselves back or we base decisions on what other people are thinking. We would have so much more freedom. I made a little note and I said the seventh house, which is ruled by Libra, which is a cardinal house, first house in the upper half of the zodiac wheel. This is one of the first houses where it really starts dealing with other people. This is why these cards may feel very complicated to us. We are beginning to make hard decisions about what we want in our social life, in our professional life, in our partnerships. And also, we are now feeling the effect of other people's hard decisions that they made. We might not be the chosen one. But that is what happens when you start dealing with people. You start putting yourself out there. You start applying for jobs. You start trying to date somebody. Like, this is the lessons of Libra when you start moving into the world of partnerships, of business, of, it's a lot. And it makes sense to me that it's ruled by Libra at this point in the Fool's Journey, at this point in the zodiac year as well. These are complicated cards, and that Three of Swords is like, you can't not feel heartbreak, especially if it's because of somebody else's decision or your decision. But we have to make decisions. It's what we do with the heartbreak that makes us who we are in the future. Talking about the energy of these cards and me going back to this being upper level triangle chakra energy, the heart, the throat, the third eye, and the crown, and it might just be the blueness of all these cards. I feel so much like calling to the use of the throat chakra for these three cards for healing and for balancing of the energy of these cards. You use the throat to purify. That's what Vishuddha means, to purify and to release. This might be breath work. This could be mantra, singing, and talking it out. Don't let this air energy stay bottled up in the upper triangle, but also Don't push that energy down to your lower triangle. Try to stuff that away in your sacral chakra, or worse yet, in your root chakra. Push it down to your hips because it's going to come back. It's going to get released at some point. But that is an overwhelming feeling I had when I was looking at these cards, was the use of the throat chakra to help us move through, balance, release, sometimes gain energy for these cards, for the energy in these cards. Message from the universe. I'm using the Spirit Song Tarot deck today.
Yay.
I have 3 cards, A, B, and C. The first card is the 5 of Shells. It's the Firefly, hope and readjustment. The message is the firefly's glow is the spark to light a way for hope. This little illuminator is a reminder that things are not always as they seem. She will show you that your path will be lighter and clearer by allowing beauty to grace your life. Firefly's shining light is the embodiment of the freedom of the spirit. She is the promise of repairing a broken spirit through faith in yourself. By igniting your inner light, healing takes place. This healing releases sorrow, which brings a renewed outlook for the future. Learn from the lesson of experience and focus on the light in your life. The light within is stronger than you know. By finding ways to reinvigorate yourself, you will find the direction that best suits your life at this time. Keywords are repair, change, release, hope, and readjustment. Card B is the World. Card 21, and this is the Whale. Fulfillment and celebration. The message is the guardian of the cosmos. Whale's awareness of the world around her provides her with a deeper connection to all that is. In reaching her destination, she dives into the portal of new potential. She is here to call to mind that life is a continuous process of becoming. You've worked hard. You are nearing the finish line. Everything is successfully coming together. Celebrate your achievements. Your consciousness is moving towards higher levels. The insight you've acquired has empowered you with a deeper connection to the energies around and within you. Keywords are fulfillment, celebration, freedom, completion, growth, and goals achieved. Card C, the third card, is justice.
How about that?
Yeah, for the Libra card, justice, truth, and clarity. The message is at the portal of shadow and light, the seen and the unseen, Crow holds the gifts of ancient wisdom and sacred law. Her sharp perception illuminates the core of truth. She is able to discern what is fair, and she stands on guard to ensure that such fairness is fulfilled. As a bringer of clarity, Crow will assist you towards spiritual self-awareness. In standing by your personal integrity, you will awaken your authentic self. Balance is a continuous process on the road of readjustment. Weigh decisions carefully so as to bring everything back into balance. You are the orchestrator of your life. Consider the results of all actions taken as your actions and thoughts shape your future. Keywords: truth, clarity, balanced thought, self-examination, adjustment, cause and effect, and responsibility. Thank you, universe. The Justice card. How about that? Got some Libra energy.
And next week,
we got a big one.
We are back with, we're calling it a bonus episode. I don't know if it's our first bonus or not, but when we planned out all of our episodes and linked up the minor arcana cards and the majors and the planets and all the fun stuff, we had some openings. So we were like, what can we plug in? And next week it is Kabbalah,
That's
or
right.
Kabbalah. This was a
We've
big
been-
one for us.
Well, we've been talking about the tree of life. I've been talking about the Hebrew letter. Let us talk about it a little more.
So that'll be next week, part of Libra season. And then our fourth Libra episode the week after will be on Venus. So we will talk to you then, listeners. Thank you. We love you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. The Radical Podcast is created and produced by Nicole and Christina.
Music by Van Horton. His Instagram is Van Horton Music. Stay in touch with us at linktr.ee/theradicalpodnc.